Hi everyone, today we're going to cover images and we're going to talk a little bit about why they're useful and how we can work with them. So images are really great because they can be generative. As we're going to see later today, we can load lots of different types of random images. They can be different images of different things, different types of images, different sizes. And images are also really data rich. There's a lot of information in images, a lot of colors, and later on today we're also going to look at how we can extract out those colors from the pixels in our images. So let's get started with working with images in P5. There's two ways we can work with images. We can either have them locally on our computers or we can load them from the web. So in the P5 editor here, there's this little arrow on the left, and if you hit that, you can see the files that are associated with our program here. And if you want, you can actually upload a file. You have to be signed in with an account, but then you can just drag an image in. And this is one way we can work with images. We can load them in locally. You can see my image over here. The other way we can work with images is we can load them from the web. Let's have a look at the syntax. So I want to make an image here. I'm going to create a variable to store it. I'm going to call it my image. And to store the image in my image, I need to load it. My image equals load image. And then inside load image, this new function we've got, we write the address of our image. So in this case, I can put my image.png, the image on the left, or alternatively, I could get an image from the web, like this URL here. Some of you might have noticed that I'm loading this image not in setup, but in a new function called preload. It's really important that we use preload whenever we're loading files. So this includes images and sounds and videos and all of these kinds of things. And preload is a special function that runs before setup. And what's special about preload is any loaded files, it's going to wait for them to load. So if we've got a big image that takes a while for our program to load, we don't want to start running our program until it's done loading. And luckily, preload is going to do that for us. It's going to wait until all of the images and other files we load in here are done loading, and then we're going to proceed into the rest of our program. So whenever you're loading files like images, you've got to put them in this special preload function here. Alright, so I've loaded an image here from this nice website called Unsplash. They're really cool because they let you get all kinds of different images. You can see here this is a 400 by 400 image of a mountain. I could put anything in here. I could put car, I could put animal. You can actually do a nice thing here where we can add two strings together. So I could have this URL plus some search string here, like animal or car, or a variable like search query, and I could make that a variable up here. So search query equals, for example, mountains. So now I'm going to search for mountains. And you could do the same thing here with these numbers. So this could be, instead of 400 here, we could put a variable in here, something like my width. And up here, we'd write my width is equal to whatever we need, so say 400. So this technique here of adding strings together is called string concatenation. It's a little bit fancy, but it's kind of useful. Alright, cool. So we've loaded an image in, we've stored it in a variable, and now to actually display it, we simply run the image function. So image, and then inside it you put the image that you want to display, so mine's called my image. And then just like a rectangle, you give it a X and Y location. And optionally, you can also give it a size. So if I wanted to change the size of my image, I could do that here. But I'm just going to leave mine as a 400 by 400 image. So if we run this program, we should see it says loading. And then once the image is loaded, we finally see our image displayed here. And you can see we're getting an image of a mountain. If I change this to car, we should get an image of a car. Of course, it takes a little bit of time because we're actually loading up an image, but you can see there we get our image. So now we've got our image loaded in, we can do all kinds of things with it. The first challenge is going to get you guys to tint your images. So using the tint command, it's very similar to fill. It's like the fill command for images. So if we wanted to make our little car here blue, we could change it so that the red amount, the green amount, and the blue amount have been tinted. And now whatever image we get will be made sort of more blue. like that. Okay, so your exercise is going to be to play around with this and get working with loading images. You can see in the challenges today, there's the first two challenges, loading images and putting them in a grid, are quite similar. So we're going to do them together now over the next like half an hour or so. And then we'll come back to the video to talk about some of the other things we can do with images for this final challenge. And if you get some time, it's probably unlikely, but if you do, there is a bonus recommended challenge to work on as well. So pause the video here and get working with the first two challenges. So loading in a basic image and tinting it, and then loading in a whole grid of images. And then we'll come back and talk about a pixel walker and other things we can do with images shortly. Okay. So there's a few other things we can do with images. Similar to arrays, images have properties and methods that belong to them. So similar to how arrays have a dot length parameter, images have a width and a height parameter, which tells us the size of our image. So in this case, we already know our image is 400 by 400, but in case we didn't, and we wanted to draw a circle in the middle of our ellipse, we could do something, a circle in the middle of our image. We could do something like this. We could write a circle, and then my image dot width divided by 2, and my image dot height divided by 2, and this is going to be the middle of the width of our image. So image dot width and my image dot height is talking about the actual size of the photo here, the image, and so I can use that to draw a circle in the middle, like this. And so that's sometimes useful. Something we might also want to do is get image data, so the color of the pixels in our image. And in this scenario, let's see here, I'm going to put my mouse X and mouse Y. And what I'd like to do is have this circle that follows my mouse here. I'd like to have the circle colored based on the color behind it. So if I'm mousing up here over the gray, it would be gray, and down here over the brown, the circle would be brown. And this is actually really easy to do. We just set the fill color of our circle to myImage.get, and the get function belongs to this particular image, and it lets us ask for the color of a pixel. So I want the pixel color, so the image, the color of the little pixel behind my mouse here, and so I'm going to put mouse X and mouse Y. So if I run this now, we should get a circle that changes color based on whatever's behind it. So in this black and white photo, whenever I mouse over a dark area, I get black, and whenever I mouse over a light area, I get white. So this can create lots of interesting effects, and that's what the final challenge today is going to involve, where we're going to draw an image slowly by filling it in with lots of circles. It's a really interesting example, so just follow along. And it'll take quite a bit because it's quite a tricky challenge, has a lot of steps to it, so just take your time working through it. And if you do get any time, there is a recommended challenge to go to, but this next challenge can take quite a while, so you might not have time. Okay, so good luck with that final challenge, and I'll see you guys next time.